What's up, guys? I'm Dr. Antonio Webb, board-certified orthopedic spine surgeon here in San Antonio, Texas. Before becoming a spine surgeon, I spent 8 years in the U.S. Air Force, including a tour to Iraq in 2005 as a medic. And going to boot camp was a really interesting time. So I'm going to react to what new Air Force recruits go through in boot camp and give you guys my thoughts. And also it's going to bring it back and jog a lot of memories about my experience over 20 years ago going through boot camp. Let's get to it.
Move forward, move forward.
Let's move on. You're a train trouble city.
This
Stop talking when I'm talking.
is Air Force boot camp.
The drill sergeants in boot camp were I thought that was the most hilarious time period when they were just yelling at people and going off at you, yelling at me. I had one drill sergeant just yell at me and call me Elvis because I had my collar up on my uniform up. And I just started laughing. It was just the most hilarious thing ever. But you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to laugh.
Before they join the United States Air Force or Space Force, all trainees must graduate from the Air Force's 7.5-week basic military training program, known as BMT.
Our mission is to motivate, train, and inspire the next generation of airmen to deliver 21st century air power.
Training happens here at Lackland Air Force Base, located just 10 miles outside of downtown San Antonio, Texas.
All Air Force recruits, they do their boot camp or basic military training in San Antonio, Texas. And that drill sergeant, what he was saying during the march was like left face or right face in terms of which way that we march. Left, haste, right, haste. And that's the way we mark. And I was a yellow rope, which means I was a leader, and I had a formation of troops that I marched, and that was my responsibility in training.
On a sweltering week in August, insiders spent 4 days observing different squadrons at various stages of training.
Whenever I said I was going Air Force, everybody's like, oh, the chair force, like basic's gonna be nothing. And I was sitting there thinking, man, I should have went another route. This is gonna be way too easy.
You're wearing your failure.
Yeah, it's this huge kind of running joke about the Air Force being the chair force. We really don't go anywhere unless we have fresh water and air conditioning. And that's the truth. Compared to other branches like the Army, the Marines that spend a lot more time outside and the just training and outdoors, and their conditions are not as good as the Air Force. When we go to a military base, an Army base or Marine base, we get paid hazardous duty pay. And I think that may be still true.
All over your face.
And I could not have been more wrong.
On day 1, new trainees arrive on a bus from the San Antonio airport.
Some of these kids come here never having left home, no job experience, but not long after they leave here, they're going to be given a job and a task and expected to perform that task with no supervision.
There, hug your back, nothing falls out. That's all this comes.
About 35,000 trainees graduate from BMT each year.
The average age of a basic trainee here at BMT is 20.6 years old. What that means is they don't remember a time when our nation wasn't at war, but they raised.
I went into the military at age 17, right out of high school. Really young, spent my first career, my first real job was the Air Force, and joined it at a really young age.
They raised their hand anyway, and they said they want to serve.
All trainees are sorted into smaller groups known as flights. Although training squadrons are composed of both male and female trainees, the flights are divided by gender. During 0 week, male trainees receive haircuts.
Getting that buzz
Female
cut.
trainees must wear their hair in a bun, a ponytail, or up to 2 braids.
Right away, the Air Force wants to get a little muscle on those pretty arms.
Females were first allowed to join the Air Force in limited roles in 1948. And in 1976, began being accepted on an equal basis with males. Today, 20% of the Air Force's active duty service members are female, along with about 25% of all trainees at BMT. Trainees learn how to line up and march in formation from their military training instructor, or MTI. which for some can be easier said than done.
There you go, leave it all on the track.
Mornings at BMT begin at 0600 with physical training.
5 seconds.
So every morning in boot camp, we got up, we ran, did push-ups, did sit-ups, and the Air Force, their physical fitness tests, it's a lot different from the other branches. Air Force consists of, their PT tests consist of push-ups, sit-ups, and running 1.5 miles. This is a lot different from the Army, who recently changed their Army physical fitness tests to comprise 6 events, and these are like repetition, maximum deadlifts, the standing power throw, sprint, drag and carry, leg tucks, and also a 2-mile run. If you're in the Marines, you're going to be running 3 miles for your physical fitness test. So in the Air Force, we run 1.5 miles, sometimes on the bicycle. So it's it was on the bicycle when I first started. So
Come on, man, keep going. All right, you're done.
All trainees must pass a physical fitness test during the 5th week of their training, which consists of 1 minute each of push-ups and sit-ups, as well as a timed 1.5 mile run.
Good job, keep going, gentlemen.
They kind of flip a switch during PT from MTI to personal trainer.
Good job, good run.
Like they come in and they really encourage you. If you're struggling, they'll tell you like, hurry up, let's get this done, and they'll do it with you.
There you go, burn through this last lap. There you go.
After morning PT, it's time for breakfast, known as chow. But meals aren't a time for relaxation.
Sir, flight 727, dormitory Alpha 1 is prepared to enter the dining facility from the west side.
It's the responsibility of the chow runner to announce their flight's arrival to the dining facility.
Storm Bravo 6 is prepared to enter the dive facility from the east side.
good old chow hall. Man, I remember this, and this really is the reason why that I eat so fast. Because in boot camp, they used to yell at us while we were eating. Literally had like 5 minutes to eat your food and you were out the door. You had to look a certain way, your food had to be positioned a certain way. The way you walked into the cafeteria or chow hall, carry your plate, you need to look forward. You better not be looking that way or that way. You'd be looking forward, and everything was really rigid, structured. You eat, you get out. And that's why I eat so fast, even to this day.
Bring him in and seat them. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You gotta do the right amount of steps, the right drill movements. You gotta say the right words, or you're gonna get screamed at.
What are you doing? What is happening right here?
Chow runners who don't follow procedures correctly may face the wrath of the snake pit, the area where MTIs sit during meals.
You stepped out in traffic, and almost got ran over. Because it was not your turn. There's no explanation for it. Back up.
Really, it's an important job because you represent your flight. They put people in there who got confidence issues, to build their confidence.
So you're forgetting to do so is what got you. Stop talking when I'm talking!
You gotta really be stable to be able to remember everything and then be in that fire and, perform well.
So this is most likely filmed during COVID. Outside of COVID, didn't have that mask on. You couldn't hide a little smirk or something like that. But when I got yelled at a lot of times, I thought it was just hilarious when they would say off the wall things and yell at.
After doing it a few times, it get easier.
Attention to detail is a critical aspect of BMT, and it starts in the dormitory. Trainees are expected to keep their living areas and uniforms in pristine condition.
So these are the dorms here that we stayed in. It's a huge area, multiple cots or beds, and this is where we stayed, and we had inspections. Our beds had to be folded at a certain angle, or sheets. They had to be crisp, no wrinkles. Our boots had to be a certain way and lined and shined. Our shirts had to be folded a certain way. So really attention to detail. And I extrapolated that to make me or help me be successful in becoming a spine surgeon, that attention to detail.
And both are inspected regularly by their MTIs.
There's a plethora of things that they have to make sure are perfect down to the T, and if they aren't, we're gonna let them know that this does not meet the standard. They're gonna be expected to correct it.
During 0 week, each trainee is assigned a rifle, which they learn to care for.
My heels are pretty much trying to touch the ground, and I'm facing downrange.
35% of BMT is classroom instruction.
Right now, what you're gonna do is go to the high kneeling position.
Trainees learn the basics of how to hold their rifles in a variety of different shooting positions.
Because we're an expeditionary force, and airmen can find themselves in any location around the world really at a moment's notice. So we have to maintain our qualifications and our service weapon.
Nowhere is attention to detail more apparent than in drill practice.
Get your just stay in step.
Drill is a lot of precision and discipline incorporated into certain movements in a formation. I will say during the first couple weeks of training, they are drinking from a fire hose. The drill is much more difficult for them because they are having an overload of information being given to them.
Left foot, left, right, left.
Typically after the second or third week of training is when it all starts to make a little bit of sense, and around that time is when it looks a lot better.
Lots of practice.
Training culminates in week 6 with an event known as BEAST, which stands for Basic Expeditionary Airman Skills Training.
BEAST puts them through all the things that they have learned in 5.5, 6 weeks, and we rehearsed it, if you will.
During BEAST Week, trainees live in a simulated combat environment.
Eating those MREs, I have a lot of memories of those from being deployed out in the field and training. These are meals that are coming in little packages, and this is when we go out to deploy. We don't have a cafeteria or food, McDonald's, restaurants. We take MREs, and that's what we eat.
Are tested on various field training exercises and scenarios.
I want their backs to hurt, and I want their feet to hurt after that 5 days of training out in the field. Because they need to ingrain to them right now the character. What does it take to be our agile airman and our agile guardian in the United States Air Force?
During combat arms training and maintenance, trainees learn how to handle and fire an M4 carbine.
Forward. Slow.
Trainees first learn how to safely load and fire their weapons in the classroom before heading out to the firing range.
The line is ready. Fire!
Where they'll fire their weapons from several different positions. Trainees fire a total of 76 rounds and must hit their target on at least 12 of them. Trainees who score 22 or higher qualify as expert.
The reload is out with the old. And with the new. Slap the ping pong paddle, that bow on the side of your gun, and shoot.
If they lose fundamentals, they get frustrated. They tend not to qualify.
You guys ready? Yes, sir. All right, let's do it again. Let's go.
But if you keep them motivated, that part will ensure that they either qualify or get that expert.
There's a sense of accomplishment that when an airman leaves here that they're confident in holding and operating a weapon. Some people come here, they've never touched any weapon of any kind in their life, so that confidence is important to us.
Trainees don gas masks during CBRN training, where they learn how to protect themselves during a chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear attack.
Yeah, so I remember this gas mask that we have to put on, and we go into what's called a gas chamber. This is a room that you go in, there's gas, and you have to take off your gas mask, state your name, your social security number, and I believe it was one more thing, and with your mask off, and you just feel that gas just burning your eyes. You come out and you're throwing up and you're just spitting up, but they want you to experience what it's like to be in a chemical warfare, and you gotta be prepared for that. So they teach you how to don your mask, your gloves, and then go into environments like this.
Let's go, let's go, let's go! Get out of here!
Trainees run through a simulated attack and conduct post-attack reconnaissance of their surrounding area, where they check for damage, as well as any unexploded explosive ordnance. Due to COVID-19 protocols, trainees are not exposed to any dangerous chemicals during BMT, but training that does include exposure is scheduled to return in early 2022.
2 feet, 2 feet, 2 feet, 2 feet, 24 inches.
I believe it's 97 degrees right now, and the gear that they're wearing adds about 15 degrees of body heat. So it's challenging both physically and mentally.
I know it's hot, I know it's miserable out here, but you need to make sure you're paying attention.
I think it's a unique experience. I remember the first time I put on a gas mask and how cool I thought it was. But there's no doubt that after wearing that gear for a few hours, especially in the Texas heat, they probably get tired of it pretty quickly. I like to joke with some of my students and tell them, hey, the best part of CBurn is returning the gear at the end of the day.
LDP1, what is LDP1? What's LDP run?
Figuring out how to coordinate with your team, that would be the most difficult part, especially in like all that really clunky gear. It's hard to move around, but it was still fun.
Trainees are also trained in Tactical Casualty Combat Care, or TCCC, which teaches them how to perform potentially life-saving first aid in combat.
Once I go through once, I'm going to go back the opposite direction. That's what's going to create that direct pressure.
The trainees learn how to properly apply tourniquets, as well as how to evacuate a wounded airman to safety. Skills they'll need to know when it comes to the culminating event of Beast Week, simply known as the Village. The trainees' mission is to infiltrate the village and rescue an injured airman located somewhere inside. But the sounds of gunfire and explosives, along with the presence of role players acting as opposing forces and innocent bystanders, make for a stressful environment.
We all kind of rushed in and then didn't really know what to do. We were all just kind of like looking around like, what the heck is going on?
We had a plan and then it completely fell apart. Like as soon as we walked through, pretty much, it fell apart.
Air Force leading the way.
Bang, 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 bang.
We are responsible for throwing the different scenarios at them, having them feel the pressure while they're out here at the village. That way they can actually use their minds and think about what it is that we've taught them and trained them on in a scenario where they're actually under pressure.
Put your hands above your head. Put your fingers, put your feet.
Trainees are taught how to defuse situations with opposing forces and are instructed to use minimal force on those who are non-compliant.
What do you do when they don't comply?
But the stressful environment can cause some trainees to freeze.
Can I see? Oh, thank you.
Or
really stressful situation, some people just freeze and don't know how to react.
Some of the things that I see most of the time, which is very detrimental to our force, is trainees utilizing deadly force when they're not supposed to be.
Why did you shoot me?
You have a grenade in your hand and a weapon in your hand, sir.
But how did you know it was a grenade? You're that far away, you don't know. And I'm not pointing my weapon at you, why would you shoot me?
Obviously, we all know that's against code. It sets us back in a mission that we're trying to accomplish overseas.
Bang. Hey, sir. Common mistakes, not forming that 360-degree perimeter. I see that all the time. Hey, wingman. Bang.
What are you doing right now?
No 360-degree perimeter. I want them to make mistakes. I want to correct those mistakes and tell them this is why it was a mistake and move forward from it.
Y'all are all trained in TCCC, right? Somebody send us down airmen then.
Once the trainees reach the injured airman, they must quickly and safely apply TCCC.
Wake up! Calm down and think!
Before evacuating them to safety.
You guys ready? We're going this way. Let's go.
Hey, this is why we train out here. This is why we harp on all of those things that we teach you when you're doing fast and TCCC, because all of this stuff comes into play whether you're here or downrange, and you have to apply real world. Hey, if you shoot somebody out in the desert and they didn't have opportunity, capability, and intent, you're going to Leavenworth. We try and expose the mistakes. That way they can make them here where it's a safe environment and actually leave the village with a different understanding of where they need to work on themselves. Good job.
Thank you.
Having survived Beast Week, the trainees return to base with the toughest week of BMT behind them.
They see it often as a rite of passage. They've been out there, they've achieved that difficult thing. So by the time they come back from Beast, there's a new sense of accomplishment.
Friends and family gather to see their new airmen and guardians graduate.
It's remarkable to watch how in just 7 weeks, which is not very long, it can make such a difference in someone's life. They walk a different way. They talk a different way. The amount of confidence they exude and the pride that they obviously have after having gone through this is so clear and it's so evident.
After graduating from basic military training, airmen and guardians head to technical school to start the next chapter in their journey in the U.S. Air Force and Space Force.
Those who joke about us being the chair force, I would tell you, well, it's easier to sit on a chair than it is to sit on a rock. We must outthink our enemies every single day and how we fight. But what I would tell those who joke is to stand the post, because we have a nation to defend.
Wow, a lot of great memories about my experience in the Air Force. You know, the things that I took away from the Air Force and really helped me be successful as a spine surgeon were the 3 core values of the Air Force. Integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And I stood behind those 3 core values throughout my whole path along this journey to becoming a spine surgeon. It was a remarkable journey. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I got real world experience. I traveled the world, met a lot of great people, and being in the Air Force, I had an opportunity to go to school while I was active duty, and I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been able to do that in the Army or Marines. So overall, you know, my time, my experience in the military was a great one, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys learned something. Hit that like button, subscribe button. Make sure you stay tuned for our next and latest video that we have coming out. See you soon.